Hello, guys. Thank you for joining again with us Between Two Lifts, and I'm here with Josh of Captain Auto out in East Fort Worth. Is that where it is?
Hanley.
East Fort Worth.
Yep.
And Leetterville, I guess the industrial side of it. And today we're going to be talking about you might need a mechanic if signs and symptoms your car needs to go to the shop. And I know times are tough, and people are stretching when they take their car in, or even if they take their car in. And I think YouTube is turning a lot of people into technicians or so-called, or my car's doing this, but I seen it on YouTube and this fixed it. And even forums, we get a lot of calls, and customers kind of want to tell us what to do because of a forum they seen. You get any of that come across? Hey, I seen this on a forum.
Yeah.
You need to do this.
Yeah, definitely. People who like to work on their own cars,
right?
They try to have an idea of what they're looking at, and it's hit or miss. I mean, it
right.
does. There is some helpful stuff,
right? And a lot of times it can send you down a rabbit hole, because I've been victim of it too. You have this very oddball problem, and we go to forums too. The first thing I do is hit up other technicians that I network with or whatever. But then we also, we're looking at forums, and some things make sense, other things don't make sense, so you don't kind of bite on those. But it's just so much information out there, and a lot of that stuff can mislead you. Or it could have been something way simpler, but you went reading forums and it sent you down a rabbit hole, and now you're replacing all kind of parts, and nothing has fixed your problem, and you're stuck. So one example we had, and this has nothing to do with the customer fixing their car, but they had I think it was a Kia Soul, and they were car was running bad, just had an oil change not even 1,000 miles ago. Car's running bad. We told them, don't drive it. We'll come out and see what's going on with it. And the first thing we do, like on Hyundais and Kias and everything like that, we're going to check the oil. So first thing we do was check the oil, and it's not even shown on the dipstick. So it's, you can't even make it 1,000 miles before you need, it was 3 quarts low, and you can't even make it through the oil change. I guess just doing your research and knowing your vehicle, knowing the symptoms, that they have, or just doing research on the car, even before you bought it. I don't think she even had it that long, but knowing what you buy, and that I tie that back to pre-purchase inspection, or even calling up Josh or calling up me. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this, and we can kind of steer you the right way, in the sense that I wouldn't touch that car with a 12-foot stick. So have you ever had anything that I guess a customer ignored in a sense, and they called you when it's kind of catastrophic, or they've caused more damage?
One thing that pops up, that customer will bring it in for something, like oil change or just something, and I'll go give it a test drive, and like the wheel bearing will be screaming at me, like droning before I even get out of the parking lot, and they ride it, and like you'll tell them, and then we'll get that fixed, and then
right.
And then 3 months later, and it's like it's worse.
Right.
So that's one thing. Like I'll go drive the car. I'm like, how do you drive this car? Like, I mean, the radio. We turned the radio up.
Right.
But I was like, I can feel the wheel bearing. That's one thing. I'm trying to think of anything else.
And it's like this car ain't safe, and it's like AC doesn't work, but the wheel is about to fall off, and it's, well, we just want to see what's going on with the AC.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not gonna make it nowhere. Your wheel's about to fall off. Yep. So, yep. And I'll be riding with my wife, and we're on the freeway, and we're behind somebody, and that wheel is wobbling. I was like, I'm gonna just back off, because that wheel can go at
Yeah.
any time.
Yeah, that's definitely that wheel, or it's hopping like that.
Right.
You go, you're like, well, they need some suspension work done.
But then, you know, and again, I know times are hard, but risking your life, you know, to get to point A to point B, and I understand we have to go to work, but making it to work is not worth risking your life.
Yeah.
In my eyes. I'd rather call in, but, you know, I'm not going to risk my life. But I understand it's tough situations, but if anybody's any kind of inclined, if your wheel is wobbling, I don't know. You need to find another way to work because it's dangerous. And I've seen people loaded, you know, family loaded up, and that car is riding sideways, or, you know, wheels wobbling. It's not worth it to me. I would park it and save up, but, you know, I understand the time. So another one we had was a guy. He replaced, you know, again, YouTube. He replaced a thermostat in his van. And he said, you know, I pour coolant back in, it just keeps overheating. You know, and yeah, the thermostat is fairly quick to replace on it. I think it was a Chrysler Pacifica or something like that. And so he put his thermostat in, put coolant in it, kept overheating. But people don't realize that it's just older cars. I think you could get away with something like that, but he had a bunch of air in his cooling system, but he filled the radiator up, put the top on it, and expected everything to be good. But it's a procedure you have to do, you know, and basically he paid me to come out there and bleed it correctly because it had air in the system. So something that, you know, you thought was, you know, you were going to save a lot of money on, you end up paying more for somebody else to come back behind you to do it correctly. So I know you see the video, or you see the forum that says, you know, yeah, it should take 10 minutes. You know, you can, you know, shop try to charge me $300. You know, jokes on them. You know, I only spend $30 on the part, and I'm gonna do it myself. But then the outcome is that, you know, you're paying us to come out and see basically what you missed. And sometimes, you know, we can find in, you know, 5 minutes, and you feel like, well, I paid all this money and you fixed it in 5 minutes, but all the knowledge and experience and all the just trials and tribulations that you go through as a mechanic, you store that in a database somewhere in your brain. So yes, you know, some things we probably can do fast, but it's just from years of collecting, you know, different experiences in your brain.
And tools.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, like, yeah, knowing how to use them, having the tools, having the lift, you know.
Right.
Like a brake job, you know, customer, you know, messaged me, how much for a brake job? I said, well, for the good quality parts and, you know, labor is this much. And I didn't hear anything back. And then they text me, well, we got the parts. And I was like, how much for the labor, you know? And so I said, okay. And you know, it's a lot, you know, to compare to, you know, 20, 30 years ago, and like you expect to go, you know, get a used tire and get your brakes done for $20. That's one of the things, like, you know, even like people do it themselves, end up costing them a lot more money, going to the wrong place. That's, you know, they're just gonna slap the cheapest brake pads on, and luckily if they're on their, you know, they're not inside out, and they put all the bolts back, like, why do you play games like that, you know? Like, let me do it, you know. And they bring me the parts, and, you know, it's a brand that I've heard of. I don't ever use it. Honestly, I don't know. So I'm gonna interested to see how this goes. It could be, you know, I'll say Ray Bestis, which is like a brand from, like, you know, I when I was growing up.
I've seen it around for a while,
Yeah, like it's an old brand, and but I never use it, you know. So I'm kind of curious how it's gonna turn out, because, you know, I got the tools, you know, I know what I'm doing. You know, when you hit a, like this particular one was Toyota, and the difference, you know, it's American made and Japanese made, the difference on the brake pads, and, you know, so you know, getting that, and then you find out why, because, you know, the hardware is different, you know, it's a little 2 millimeters difference thickness, but you use the one that's too small, you're gonna get some grinding noise. You're like, why am I getting this grinding noise? Why am I getting this squeaking noise? What's going on? And I already threw the other ones away. And then, you know, you can't figure it out, and you end up, you know, either living with it or paying someone to fix it. It's just the little details that that'll get you. And then
go ahead.
And then just making sure everything's put together right. You know, taking that extra time, the experience, and, you know, the frustration of having it's on, you're in a driveway on the ground, you're trying to beat the weather, beat the dark before the sun goes down. Here,
Right.
you got a lit shop,
Right.
everything's right where you need it to be. It's clean. It's just like, why do that to
Right.
yourself?
And yeah, you can. I mean, it's, having in a shop environment, us, we do mobile repair too, but a lot of our customers opt to bring it to the shop because, we tell them we can't guarantee, liquids or, something's going to get on your driveway. We can't guarantee 100% that your driveway is going to be immaculate, like it was when we came. So a shop environment, it is a controlled environment. Like you say, the pads were wrong, the hardware was wrong. Now we're waiting for more parts, and that's one thing that we had to evaluate, that we are evaluating, is customer supply parts, because it's a big deal. Basically, a customer's buying their parts because they're trying to save money on it, but then, like you said, you put those brake pads on and they're noisy, and now you're looking at the customer and they're looking at you like, so what do we do now? It's like, so do you want to pay to try a different pad? But that's not going to be free because you supplied your own parts. So and that's a big thing. We won't warranty something that we didn't supply the parts for. So if you went and got a part off Amazon, and hopefully it lasts for a long time, but that labor that was charged is not going to be warranted if because that part you bought on Amazon failed. So you're kind of rolling the dice on hopefully I got a good one, or well, we hope this one works. So
yeah, brake pads are something that I recommend don't cheap out on.
Right.
Because literally, like, for 30, 40 more bucks, you'll get twice the life out of them, and twice the smooth stopping. And I like to stop smooth. I like easy, good stopping. I don't like choppy, noisy, like and you use the store brand brake pads, you're gonna get 20,000 miles out of them.
Right.
You use the premium ones, you're gonna get 50 to 60. So I mean, how often do you like to do your brakes is what I tell people,
And then I didn't notice this, and I've been doing brakes for a long time, that the thickness, the cheaper the pad, they're not giving you as much material.
Yeah.
So we ordered the store brand, the cheaper one, and they do have a higher end one that costs more money. But just looking at the thickness of the pads, you went and bought that $20 set, but it's not going to go as far. It's kind of like a tire. They tell you this tire is expected to last 30 to 40,000 miles or 70,000 miles. It's the same thing with brake pads. You buy a cheaper one, like you said, you're not going to get as much life out of it in a sense. So and then back to we had another customer, we gave him a brake quote, and no, we're not as cheap as like a Brakes Plus or whatever, but they ended up my family member can do it. He used to turn wrenches back in the day. So he did her brakes, and he got everything put on right, but he didn't tighten all the lug nuts. They were snug. And and this individual, this woman, she drives from North Fort Worth to, like, in a sense, South Dallas every day. So we get a call from her that she's driving and it just don't feel right. It's real wobbly. So all the way from Dallas to here, eventually it got so wobbly that something told her to pull over. So when she did pull over, it only had one lug nut left. The other ones had snapped off. So it's yes, you're saving money, but you're risking your life. Sometimes you're risking your life because you don't, me and you, we have our own shop, so we're held accountable for the things that we do. It's not a fly by night. We're going to throw your brakes on for $50, and then when something goes wrong, we're not answering the phone. So we hold ourselves accountable. We have locations. We're not going to run from you. We have a fixed location. So sometimes it's better just to pay that money for that peace of mind and basically hold us accountable. If we did something wrong, we want to be held accountable.
We own it then, if, you can't bring me food and then get mad when it doesn't taste good.
Right.
Because it was, expired.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, that's scary, man. Like, and like leaving the lug nuts loose and stuff. And brakes require a good break-in period too.
Oh yeah.
You've got to go and do the procedure, the slow stop, the smooth stop, or else you're going to get build up. Brand new pads are going to just build up on those rotors, and then you're going to have problems. So, if her cousin or whatever, would have done his break-in procedure, he probably would have caught that.
Oh, yeah.
The lug nuts weren't all the way tight, because I know I do. I go on the, I'm stopping it, I'm like listening and doing everything, I want this thing to be just right.
And then it's one we got called out to. Somebody did her brakes, and she said they're smoking, and there's some brake pads or rotors that have a material on it, and it'll smoke until you break it in. So that lets me know, like you said, that they didn't do that break-in period, because you drive and break it in until that smoke dissipates, and then you're good. But she's like, yeah, he just did them, and when I drive, they smoke, and it's basically you paid us to come out and look at it, and it's something that is normal. If he would have did the break-in, it would have went away. So the next thing, and something that we're running more and more, is most of the times we come across it is Chrysler, Jeep, or Dodge, where you can't scan the codes. You can't go to AutoZone and get the code scan anymore, because they've added a security gateway that blocks you from gaining access and control over, doing several tests.
Well, you can scan it, but you can't erase it, or you can't do anything.
It's a one-way street, and you have to pay to be able to, it's called bidirectional, where you can control different things on the car and do different tests. And Josh shaking his head like,
nah.
And it's becoming more and more, because manufacturers they're wanting you to bring it back to the dealership. That's kind of their deal with the dealerships is, we want you guys working on our cars. So one way they're trying to do it is they're adding different things, hurdles that you have to jump over to just to have access to scan it. And as far as I know, most of the time we run into it is Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, I think some Audi and Volkswagen, and then they're just making it more difficult. When one crazy thing, we went out to a what was it, a Wagoneer. We were putting a battery in it, and when the battery goes down on them, they throw all kind of dash lights and stuff that you have to go in and clear out. Well, typically we can tap in through the gateway module, but they've changed the connector, because typically that 12+8 I was telling you about for the scan tools, they've changed the connector where you can't tap into the Wagoneer. So now we're trying to find a way around that. And it was a 2023, 2022 Wagoneer.
Wow.
And it, battery's already dead, but you can change the battery. Everything's good, but you have all kind of faults that you have to manually go in and erase. So it's just more hoops to be able to operate. And it's not cheap. You're paying for a high dollar scanner. You're paying for authorization to be able to scan it. So it's not just a quick AutoZone scan. There's, thousands of dollars that we have invested just to be able to read your codes or diagnose it or control the computer. And I don't see it getting better. I think they're going to try to take back more control.
Yeah. That's I hope not.
Right.
I don't know what the consumer can do or the mechanic industry can do. I don't know a lot about it, but John Deere had that whole lawsuit about right to repair,
right?
Because they were locking their stuff up,
right,
pretty bad. So I don't know what come of that, but I don't participate in the Dodge Chrysler's deal, and I hope the other manufacturers don't get the same idea, because
I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I think it is gonna happen, and it's like the old, I guess pre OBD1, where each manufacturers, they had different
connecting ports,
right.
And not the government mandated the OBD1,
right?
And so I don't know,
which still, like, even with the newer Jeeps, they still have the OBD, so they're in compliance.
But they have
they added the gateway module to where you can't you can't communicate. Yeah. So it's like, we're still within the parameters, but y'all guys figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you got your aftermarket scan tool people that are trying to keep up and make stuff for us to still be able to access that information. So it's not the same as back in the day when our dads worked on cars or uncles or whatever. They're making it where I guess it's more technical to be able to work on cars. Simple things can throw you in a loop, and it's I don't know, it's nerve-wracking. So it's in a question I asked Josh before we came on is, I know you work on cars for a living, but I said when you're not at work, I bet you like to talk about cars 24/7.
And that's a no. There is times, when you do, but there's other times where I don't even want to think about it.
Right.
And so there's always a problem every day. That's one thing. You're gonna see something you've never seen before. Basically every week, there's gonna be a problem that stumps you. Like
Right.
unless you're just a genius.
Right.
It's usually about once a week. There's gonna be something that
Eat your lunch.
And
you're like, man, I didn't even charge enough for this.
Yeah.
Sometimes going in, but the thing about like when something like that does happen, when the next one comes, you kind of know how to price it to where you're not, upside down in a sense. Kind of like with this, the dune buggy behind you. It's just, the electrical system is so simple, but it has so many problems because it's just old and wires have high resistance in them, and it's tedious. So no, it's not going to be 1 hour. It's, we need 2 hours. We'll work through some problems and then we'll readdress, how much more time that we need. But you would think it's straight up, the lights aren't working right, just fix them. It's not as simple as, I'm telling you the problem, just fix it. What's the problem? And then back to, I have another instance, a high school kid, he had a Ford F-150 and we went out to see it, and basically the water pump's been leaking, but where they park, I think was over dirt or something like that. So he never knew he had a leak. And this system was bone dry, and it's, you need this and this now. You're lucky that it didn't mess the engine up, because he'd been driving it without coolant. I don't know how long, because he makes short trips, and I was like, we need to fix the coolant leak. You don't need coolant in your system, but it helps. It cools it down. But it's just different situations. If you have a leak and you're not checking it, because that's not common now for people to check their fluids, check their oil level. It's, I'm going to wait till a fault code or light comes on the dash, and then I'll check my car out. But I think we need to normalize, teaching our kids to, check their reservoir, coolant reservoir, make sure that's full, or, checking your oil when you're putting gas in your car, or, tire pressure, normalizing that versus I'll wait till there's an issue and then I'll be defensive after something happens.
Yeah, you're right there. Nowadays there's so many cars that I can think of that the engines run fine.
Mm-hmm.
They may have high mileage. Some of them don't.
Right.
But they use oil.
Right.
They burn oil.
Right.
And so if you are aware of that, you can make that engine, last forever.
Right. Right.
But that, that month where you don't check it,
mm-hmm.
it's gonna be car shopping. Like
right.
Because, but yeah, popping the hood, catching that radiator leaking.
Right.
That he smelled. What do you smell that? You smell that?
Mm-hmm.
That could be the difference between a tow bill, a blown head gasket,
right.
A new car, just a $20 jug of antifreeze can
right.
get you to where you can get it fixed. So,
right.
Just being on top of it, listening to your car,
mm-hmm.
and knowing what it sounds like.
In my first car, I had a jug of coolant, a jug of oil, in preparation. And I know I come across some customers that still do that, even though their car is immaculate or whatever. Yeah. It's just in their nature. They keep it, just in case. Yeah. Jumper cables, get some solid jumper cable, because you never know when you're going to need a jump. And a lot of cars don't have anything.
Yeah.
They don't have cables,
no
nothing.
Spare tire. They get a little inflator.
Right. In the newer cars, they're taking them out. Like my wife has a 2016 Honda Pilot.
Yeah.
And hers came with a spare. And I think, what year was that thing? It might have been a 23 or 24 Honda Passport or something like that. They took the spare off of it. You don't have a spare anymore.
The Passport does it. Wow. You think that would, because my mom just got an Acura,
mm-hmm.
and it has a space for a spare, but it doesn't.
Right.
And they're like, you can buy the spare.
Oh man!
But it comes with a little inflator and some tire goo. Like,
and technicians hate tire goo.
Yeah,
it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
The fix a flat, it goes. I can see if you're out, somewhere in Arizona or New Mexico, somewhere where there's nothing but ranch exits and no help. I can understand using it then, but other than that, you want to make a mechanic mad, just fill your tire with
Yeah.
pixel flat. It's crazy. And let's see. Another sign, when you have a coolant light on or low oil pressure light on or something, you know, I understand you're trying to get where you're going, but to what detriment? You're risking, a $200-300 repair turning into thousands. So it's not, yeah, this light came on. I'm making it home. I don't have time for this. Everybody
Yeah.
in the DFW, everybody's in a rush to get everywhere, but that's something you don't ignore.
Yeah.
Pull over.
Yeah. The temperature
Mhm.
and oil are like, those aren't suggestions, and
Right.
when those are going off, it's time to pull it over.
Right. Not get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Older cars, it seems like they can handle that better. These newer cars are so temperamental. It's, even let me drive another 5 minutes so I can get out, the next exit. It's done.
Yep.
Game's over. And something we're running this month, and I think we typically run it maybe twice a year. And a lot of people really don't bite on it. It's a diagnosis, and it's in shop only, but we charge about $99 for that, which is significantly lower than what we normally charge for our diagnosis. But a lot of people don't bite on it, which I don't understand. But that's fine. But do you guys ever run like specials, or is it something that?
No, my everyday prices are special. So
Gotcha. Every day's a good, like
Yeah,
McDonald's. Every day's a good day.
Yeah, I keep it trimmed. I feel like my prices are good. I don't have to.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's and it's just me. I'm a single shop, so
Right.
I'm not trying to keep guys busy. If I did it, yeah, definitely. If I got to keep that flow up,
Right.
then yeah, you got to do something. But
and I know it's like you're more fair on looking at multiple concerns. Yes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I know some shops and sometimes we do too. Doing a smoke test is not going to be included in a basic diagnosis, but it's a lot of even dealers. They'll you got 5 concerns. It's going to be 5 hours diagnosis. So
yeah,
we try to be fair in that. I know you do too.
Yeah, I got hit with that this week.
Right.
Oh, check the brakes. They're doing this and that, and then oh, the defroster, and then won't I sing the window? And
Right.
I'm like, man, this turned out to be a brake. I was squeezing you in to check your brakes, and now you got 3 things, so.
Right. Or you get it in and we're doing an oil change, and then, hey, why you have it there? Or hey, why you have it there? It's we'll entertain that to a certain degree, but it's kind of like being at a restaurant or something. You want the burger and they ask you, do you want bacon? They don't tell you pricing. You want bacon? Yeah, I want bacon. And that ticket is just going up, it's going up. So
yeah,
it's going to be additional fee for that. So just thank you for joining us. And again, you're East Fort Worth, Captain Otto. You can call them if you're in that area. And we bounce ideas off each other. I think all technicians that have been in it for a while, we all network. So if it's a problem, we're calling around. I think forums is probably the last thing I check. I really want to see if, one of my brothers at a different dealer or something has seen this before. So we just want to say thank you for joining us. And if you have any question for me where I am, if you have any questions to see where Josh is, you can reach out to him, send him a message, and just ask a question, or you can leave it below the video. And then we'll try to respond to it as soon as we can. But we just want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.